We went very viral in November and December. Not large, like slightly driven by the holiday season, but we had a really large creator named Keith Lee, who's like a legendary food reviewer, make a video about us. Like he did it all on his own. He ordered it on Amazon and made a review and gave us a great review. And like I woke up the next morning and we had already broken our single highest day revenue by 9 a.m.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the 1% Podcast. I'm your host, Vin, and
I'm Shane.
And we have our special guest here today. His name is Tommy Riggs. Welcome to the show, my man.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. 2 Riggs is in the building.
That's right.
What a great last name. Look at me, so blessed to get time with 2 Riggs today. I mean, what are the odds? So, Tommy, I'm not gonna tell anything of your story. I feel I always would wind up butchering it, so I love to leave it to the expert, which is the person who knows themselves best, to tell it. So let our audience know who you are, what you're working on, and what's the biggest thing that you're excited about.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Tommy Riggs. I've been working in venture capital for the last 4 years or so, consumer venture capital mainly. Along the way, co-founded a sour candy company called Final Boss Sour about 14 months ago. We've turned that into the fastest growing online sour candy business in the US. We've been the number 1 selling sour candy product on TikTok Shop for several months and are climbing really high on Amazon. We're ranking for about 1,000 keywords in the top 10. We are a little bit different than the sour candy you typically see in the sense that we're not candy at all. We make all of our products out of dried fruit and we make them in different levels of sourness. So we got the name Final Boss Sour by kind of piecing this together in the early days. Like, you know, we realized we could control the levels of sour really easily. And we were like, okay, we kind of have different levels of this. Like it's kind of gamified in a way. Like what's the coolest part of any game? And it's when you get to go to the end of the level and defeat the final boss. So along the way, we've sort of gamified it. And, you know, we actually hired a video game development company out of Europe to design us a video game that was unplayable and essentially just took all the assets from that and gave it to our packaging designer, and the rest is history. So yeah, and then I guess the last part of your question was what gets you most excited, or what are you most excited about? Yeah, I'm really excited about what's coming from Final Boss right now. Like we're launching 2 new channels this year. So we're predominantly sold online. We're only sold online right now. We're on our website, Amazon, and TikTok Shop. And we are actually launching on Douyin, which is Chinese TikTok, which is really rare for a business at our stage. And yeah, we're really excited about that. We're also launching on TikTok Shop in the UK. So it could be a big revenue driver, just a different, you know, markets to tap into. I'm really curious to hear like feedback on, you know, just more validation on product and brand, et cetera.
I love it. And I'm curious, you know, you came up with the gamification concept. Was it because you were a gamer at one point in your life? Or are you still a gamer? Or is it just like, oh, gamification's cool now, let's tap into that?
So I grew up with older brothers. I'm technically a Gen Z, but I really think I'm more of a millennial. I grew up playing games like Crazy Taxi and Crash Bash and those types of games. Like, so I get it. Like I get that side of the gaming community. I'm not like your Fortnite, like that type of gamer. I don't game a whole bunch, but I have like the context there. So a lot of our brand is, you know, themed after like Donkey Kong or Super Mario, like Super Nintendo and stuff like that. Because we kind of wanted to talk to, you know, kind of the younger millennial, kind of older Gen Z audience, like myself and people a few years older than me. I'm 26. So, you know, 25 to 40 is really our age demographic. So that's kind of the nostalgic aspect of what we've built. So, yeah.
I love it.
I'm curious on how you originally promoted this, because for TikTok, I mean, TikTok's just been blowing up. I love the social proofing concept, especially getting to the different levels. That makes complete sense. Did you hire any influencers to actually market this? to then sell it and promote the actual TikTok shop? Or did you create just viral content videos of yourself and your team eating this and going through the different levels? Can you walk me through the marketing strategy here?
On TikTok shop specifically, right?
Yeah.
On TikTok shop specifically, in the early days, it was probably 80% driven by affiliate revenue. So sending product samples to creators, having them make their own videos about our product, post, tag our products. That was 80% of our sales. 20% was just our own page or organic, someone searching, finding it on any way. That is now flipped. Now it's about 80% organic and 20% affiliate. So we've doubled down on content strategy. We do lots of founder story, me talking about the product, some sort of giveaways or, that type of thing.
So you're going into this new demographic. Most of our audiences are entrepreneurs and business owners going into something as far as the unknown for China and UK, specifically with TikTok. Are you creating a different LLC? Is this under the same brand? Is it going to be under the same name? I'm just generally curious.
It will. Yeah. For both channels, we're using brokerages essentially that handle all that type of thing.
Now, how, for somebody who's looking into getting into that, do you have to have a certain recognition or amount of followers or amount of sales to get into those different markets?
I can't say for sure. It definitely helps. For the UK one, it's a little different. I mean, it's 10% of the size of the market. So we're not expecting a huge lift there. The opposite is true for Douyin, the TikTok in China. It's like 10 times the size of the market. And the thing that gets us most excited about Douyin is the fact that 90% of all commerce online there is driven by live selling. So we have not really cracked the code in the US yet from a live selling perspective, but our product is so designed for live selling because there's such a moment the consumer has of when somebody kind of can go through a storytelling exercise and explain what the product is. I actually have one here. I'll show you guys. So this is our VIP sampler box. We've sold over 50,000 of these in the last year.
Wow.
So it's a great starting point to get introduced to our brand.
I love the animations up top too. Those are super cool. It definitely reminds me of a video game aspect up there.
Nice. Yeah. So we have 9 different flavors in here. So we have cranberries, blueberries, and strawberries, and we have them divided by level. So there's 3 levels of each. So from a live selling perspective, it's really engaging. People in the comments dare you to level up, try more sour flavors, and the rest is kind of history there.
So curious, based on the box that you just showed me, what is your favorite flavor? And can you, the boss, Tommy Riggs, handle the final boss with ease at this point?
Yeah, people always ask me are you just obsessed with sour? Can you just handle anything? And the answer is I love sour, but I definitely can't say that I'm a psycho about it. I can't do level 4 super easily. It definitely it hits hard. I would say even our level 1s are more sour than most sour candy.
Could you kind of dive into the ingredients a little bit from level 1 to level 4? I'm imagining some sort of just high amounts of citric acid and a million lemons just being squeezed in my mouth all at once and be I can't imagine. I don't know any other ingredients that are sour than lemons, obviously, but I'm sure there's definitely 100 of them.
Yeah, I mean we have a really clean label. We have 5 ingredients, and you can pronounce all of them. They're all natural. We don't have any artificial ingredients. It's just dried fruit, a blend of acids. Super straightforward.
Gotcha. Okay. So would you compare level 1 to lemons?
If you eat a handful of level 1s, it's probably eating a warhead, I would say.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
If you eat a level 2 or level 3, it's probably more like Barnett's or toxic waste or lemon heads. So
talk about bringing it back old school, man. Jeez.
Yeah, there hasn't been much innovation, especially because all of the candies that are typically really sour are hard candies. Mm-hmm. So we're actually a snack. You eat our product, you swallow our product. Most of the sour candies that are actually sour are hard candies.
Mm.
What fruits the level? You said level 4 is the most extreme.
Level 4, essentially we have like 3 levels that are permanently available. We do limited drops every month, and we've dropped level 4 multiple times, and we have plans to bring it as a evergreen SKU pretty soon.
So I got a question for you. As you know, we mentioned it before. A lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, people that really have a deep interest in building, growing a business. And I guess one of the curiosities that I have, because I've never heard or met anyone that specifically is making candy. Can you tell us a little bit of what it takes to actually get into this industry? Like, how does one go about beginning to build a candy brand? Like, what if someone listening right now is like, I want to compete with Tommy. I want to try and build the next Sour Boss. Like, you don't have to give away all the sauce, but
give
how do
away
they
all
do
my
it?
secrets? No.
Yeah, not all of it. Not all of it.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I mean, look, so I don't know if I was talking to Shane earlier before we kicked off the call. I come from a venture capital background. So, I met 300 founders last year, and, we did diligence on many different companies. So it's great context, having of learning, what people do that does work, and also a lot of what not to do. You can make mistakes for sure. And, the mistakes you make early on, if you continue to make them, it can lead to really bad things down the road. My advice to anyone listening out there would be, in today's day and age in consumer, you have to be as different as possible. Like, from a brand, from a product, like there's so much noise out there that, like, if you're really gonna get people's attention, like, product and brand have to just really stick out. So don't do what everyone else is doing unless you have crazy funding, crazy influencers. Like, it's a tough road otherwise.
I got to hear the story, Tommy. I just have to. We got to get rid of this question because it's coming in. So we just playing around at home, and you're like, what would go good with this blueberry or this strawberry? Some diced up warhead powder, some lemon juice, how did this come to fruition?
Yeah, there's multiple versions of this, but I'll give you kind of the main gist. I did the 1-chip challenge. I'm really into spicy food. I don't know if you ever heard of the 1-chip challenge.
I've done the gummy bear.
Okay, I haven't done that one. But if anyone doesn't know what it is, it's actually gone out of business. It's not a thing anymore.
Oh.
But it's one tortilla chip that's covered in crazy chili pepper, ghost pepper seasoning. It's unlike anything I've ever eaten. So I did that, ate the chip, freaked out for 20 minutes. Mouth was on fire. My reaction was hilarious. Like, my friends are all laughing and stuff. And when I told my co-founder about it, he's like, why is there nothing like this for sour? He's like, it's spicy. Like, it really rocks you. Like, your mouth is burning, and, like, it really hurt my stomach. Like, it was not a pleasant experience. I'd never do it again. And what we realized when we were looking into sour, we're like, okay, how do you make things sour? We're like, citric acid, malic acid. It's not rocket science. But we're like, okay, like, how would we make the most sour thing ever? Well, we don't want to, like, go to a lab, because that's like what, like, all the gummy type of candies out there, like all the artificial stuff is all done that way. We're like, okay, let's try to keep this in its most natural form. So we started covering chocolate and, like, random stuff, like, in citric acid. And then we got the idea for dried fruit. We realized, like, dried fruits are already kind of sour by themselves, like cranberries, for example. So we were like, okay, it's kind of this deeper, like, complex sour flavor. So as we started playing around, we realized we could control the levels, like I mentioned, which helped us, gamify, come up with a name and all that. But back to Vin's question earlier about getting this off the ground. Once we had a few samples, it took us 3 months to go live on our website. So we sprinted, found a manufacturer, designer, did the whole thing. We were up and live in 3 months.
How did you? I mean, I've heard a lot. Like, I don't know if this is similar to what you wind up doing with, like, people who are building on Amazon stores, because I know that you said you're all virtual and all online. Is it similar sourcing? Like, I know a lot of those guys will find warehouses or factories overseas, and there's months of back and forth. Like, how do you guys wind up doing production differently? Because you did say that big part of what's helping make your claim to fame is you figured out how to be different from what's already out there. So like, how have you been figuring out how to be different?
Yeah, from a product standpoint, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So one, I think we source like really high quality dried fruits. Like I don't know if people know this out there. Like so sometimes people are like, wow, this is really expensive for sour candy. We're like, well, we're really dried fruit, and like dried fruit is expensive, man. Like it's not cheap. Even when you buy it in thousands and thousands of pounds at a time, it's not that cheap. We have some proprietary technology for our process. It's not a I don't like using that word. It's not really a process. It's more of a method to infuse the acids into the fruits. We try to keep everything in its true form. So without giving too much away, it's not super proprietary what we do in terms of making the fruit the way it is. But I would say we keep things exciting by doing our limited drops every month where we do crazy things. Like we've done chocolate covered sour cherries. We've done something that tastes exactly like a pina colada. We call it sour colada. You know, we've done like a bunch of fruits themed after cocktails, like jungle juice and AMF and, you know, strawberry margarita, and they taste just like them. So, you know, we keep things exciting, keep people coming back for new things.
I'm curious, what's the shelf life on that? Is it, I'm sure it varies based on per fruit, but is it just like a regular dried fruit? Is it, does the citric acid,
Mostly
increase the
don't
shelf
vary.
life? Oh, interesting.
They
Okay.
mostly don't vary. Anywhere between 18 and 24 months for
Oh,
the
that's
most
awesome.
part. And
Yeah.
and like you said, the citric acid actually helps everything.
That's what
So
I figured.
it's like kind of a win-win.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
So as far as this launch in China that you guys are really excited about, are you going the same route as you guys did in the beginning and looking for influencers?
No, so like I mentioned, China's 90% live selling. So
So sellers then instead of
essentially
influencers.
going to like, it's really different. It's really crazy how things happen there. Our products are going to like a warehouse where there's like dedicated cubicles almost of live sellers. And these people move product like you wouldn't imagine. Like
Hmm.
I'm not saying we haven't even launched there, so I don't know if it's going to work. Some of the noise and stats we keep hearing from over there is mind boggling. It's people selling $1 million days.
Wow.
Crazy.
So, Tommy, let's transition a little bit because I'm curious. I love to always know what are some of the big things that need to be solved in business. You know, what are some of the constraints that you've hit on your journey to becoming one of the most popular sour candies?
Supply chain. We went very viral in November and December. Not large, like slightly driven by the holiday season, but we had a really large creator named Keith Lee, who's like a legendary food reviewer, make a video about us. Like he did it all on his own. He ordered it on Amazon and made a review and gave us a great review. And like I woke up the next morning and we had already broken our single highest day revenue by 9 a.m. Like,
Wow.
Wow.
and it continued for several weeks. And, you know, while that's good, it's actually like it was the most stressful month of my life. Like it was, you know, constantly dealing with supply issues and customer service tickets of delayed orders. And, you know, on the bright side of all of that, it was a learning experience where we realized what our constraints were and essentially fixed them. We now have machinery that can package our product in an automated way. So now it's really fast and we can handle the scale.
So I guess another question that I have, because that's a really interesting point, and I think a lot of the listeners and people at home could learn something great here. So many times we want to go viral because we know it's the way to success, right? Like you just said it. I broke the revenue in a day, right? But the interesting thing is a lot of people don't actually know if they're ready for that level of virality. Like if you were to say, Vin, I'll pump you with 100 new clients right now, I'd be like, I don't know what I'll do with them. I really wouldn't. I don't have an additional coach or somebody else. So question that I have for you, now you figured it out and you could go back. How would you tell somebody to be prepared for things to go viral? Like what are some necessary steps that people could take to prevent any type of constraint that could come up while they're, going viral? Is there a way to do it, or you think they're just going to hit it and figure it out?
I mean, from a CPG standpoint, like having packaging, like reserved packaging, and having, cover is always step one. And if you don't have that, it's being able to quickly scramble to get that. So not only do you need to have packaging and raw materials partners lined up for this, but you need cash, right? If you don't have cash, you can't buy the inventory. So, there's a number of things too. Like, we have to make sure our manufacturer can handle it as well. Like they have other clients too. And, eventually it's like broken if you can't keep up with it. But yeah, they're all really related. Like you got to make sure everyone on your team is, mapping this out. For us, we're always thinking months ahead because everything takes time. Like we can't just order something and have it show up next day. It's, 3-4 weeks for us for most things. So I already know what we're launching in March, in April, in May, and to everyone else, it's really just a matter of which day they're on the website.
That's interesting. So now your new strategy is to have all of these up and coming releases. Like you guys, it sounds like you've taken that moment and you figured out a way to now systematize it and expand it into all these subsequent months so that you're always kind of rotating out your inventory, your stock. And that's a really impressive thing. So and I imagine because you had so much exposure to all these other founders, you probably learned a lot from them even before your own venture. But how does somebody also go about building out the systems and structures to getting their company into what it sounds like for you is a nice, well-oiled machine of consistent rotation and, building engagement and selling out? Like what would you say is a great way to go about doing that?
I think content is really the biggest bottleneck for most people because you don't always want a media buy. You don't want to spend money on ads, like especially if you're struggling. You always look for ways to not spend money. And, what TikTok Shop has created for us is this halo effect. The more awareness we get on TikTok Shop, the more revenue we do on Amazon and our website. It's really easy to measure. We can attribute it really easy to certain videos. And so I would say lean heavily on content, organic content, affiliate content, because that's the number one way of driving revenue and scaling without having to raise a bunch of capital.
It's the best problem to have. You got the cart before the horse. When you have a bunch of customers, you figure shit out. That is the best problem to have, because that is really when you see all the failures come into place. And that most stressful month, I bet, was the best fucking month. Oh my God. I love those months. I remember starting my business and getting clients, and it's like, well, now what? Oh shit. Now I have to service this client. Well, how do I do that? You figure it out. And I hope that when you get into these other markets, that you're into a stressed out next 2 years, because it's going to be so beneficial. Mm. It's the journey, right?
It is.
When you get to a point where things are a well-oiled machine, you really just appreciate all the struggles that you went through, because that's how you fixed it. That's how you made it that way. But you can plan as much as you want to and say, great, this is perfect. And then one thing goes viral and you're like, oh shit, this messed up, this messed up, this messed up, this messed up. Fix. It's the best part about it.
Yeah. And you kind of brought up a point that's kind of relevant right now. So I don't know if you guys are sports fans or watch the Super Bowl. I'm a big Eagles fan, so I was
good for you, man.
Yep. Super stoked on the game. And my favorite part of, watching the dust settle and the post-game interviews and whatnot, it's comments like AJ Brown and Jalen and Saquon Barkley, all basically saying like, damn, like, looking back, like I didn't really know how I was going to feel after the game if we won. Like, I think I was excited for like 30 minutes and now I'm like, no, we got more in us. Like we got more in the tank. Yeah. Like, and so it's like, wow, like it sounds like cliche. Like it sounds like, oh, maybe they're just like doing that for clout. But I listened to the interviews, like kind of believe them. And it makes you think like, wow, they just achieved the pinnacle of all sports. And they are immediately like, wow, next year is my biggest year. Like, and like, it makes you feel like, a lot of people want to get rich and like, the people always wonder like, oh, why do the rich get richer? Or, when people get success, like, why don't they just like hang them up? I'm like, because that's not what they were doing it for. Like, it's for the journey. It's for, the fight, right? That's what people, those types of people that are super successful and get there. It's intrinsic. It's not just to get there. So yeah.
I'm proud to call this man a Riggs right here.
I had a feeling that would come up somewhere. So,
Me too.
you know, that brings up a great point, and this is something that I could speak pretty well on, but I always love learning what people, I guess, what they know or how they use it. The mindset. Being an entrepreneur, being somebody who is skilled and gritty and resilient takes a very specific perspective. Not everyone is cut out for it. Not everyone wants to do it. Not everyone probably even has the mental fortitude to do it. I've met people who've tried businesses and said, nope, never again, 9 to 5 until they retire. So what are some of the biggest things that you've learned that have helped you, that have shaped you and molded you as this entrepreneur, as a venture capitalist? Like, what's the mindset inside Tommy Riggs' head looking like?
Yeah, I mean, I had a really good family growing up, and still today, of course, where they instilled different morals and principles in me. Some of them were attributed to sports, I would say. You know, I grew up playing baseball, played baseball competitively my whole life. I played football as well, but baseball, you fail 7 out of 10 times. That's like Hall of Famer, like, you know, and I was obsessed with it. Like, I would hit in the batting cage before school, go to practice, come home, hit in the batting cage some more, go throw, run. Like, I was obsessed. I thought I wanted to do it my whole life. Ironically, my name is Tommy John, and I actually got Tommy John, the injury, right before college. And so I hung him up, but, I learned so much from playing sports. And yeah, just not being afraid to fail, learning from the failures, I think is something that I carry with me. People ask, like, do you have like a chip on your shoulder? I'm like, no, I don't have a chip on my shoulder. That's kind of the wrong way to look at it. Like, I have an insane motor because I hate lazy people. Being lazy in general is just like not in my blood. So I don't know. I'm one of those people that feel like I have a good grasp of how short life is, and I've seen it taken away from people, and I don't want to take take any days for granted. And so whatever I'm doing today is really, basically playing like there's no tomorrow. Like, really, it really is. So everything we do at Final Boss, at Science, is extremely accelerated. Like, and I embrace that type of mentality. Like, I want to sprint to the finish, like, the whole way, sprinting a marathon, essentially.
I love it. You just got my wheels working. One of the biggest things that I've seen in successful companies is they have very dialed in mission, vision, and value statements. And not only are those dialed in, but the people within the organization understand them. They utilize them. They embrace them. Is that something that you found that's been very important to you in running a business? And if so, how have you managed employees and teams that have ultimately led to them having greater production, greater success within your organization?
Absolutely. I have a lot of experience hiring now, and I've learned of who to look for. And the main characteristics I look for, I would say there's 3. One, I love Swiss Army knives. Like, I'm hiring you for one thing, but I need you to be able to talk to, the rest of the team cross-functionally, et cetera, and just kind of not be afraid of new challenges. Just be ambidextrous. That's 1. 2, I need people that live by the phrase FIO, figure it out. Like, you can always ask questions, of course, but like, whenever something goes wrong, which things go wrong every day, like, you can't get down. You have to have the mentality, like, we're not going to let them win. We're not going to let this little thing beat us today. Like, so getting first downs, getting small wins every day is something that, my team embraces. I'm lucky to have them by my side. And 3, I would say it's like looking for people that are upset, or not upset, that don't like the incumbents for a reason. Even if they don't love our product, I have employees that aren't really sour candy fans. Like, and they like our product because of how much of an FU it is to the other ones. Like, it gives us a little edge. Not saying we want to knock anybody down. Like, I don't really think about my competitors more than I probably should. I'm so focused on what we're doing because I think it's so different. But I feel like, yeah, having that little fire is something I look forward to.
Interesting. And I guess the other part of that question, what is the mission of Final Boss Sour?
I mean, we're here to redefine sour snacking. You know, we're not candy, we're fruit, right? We call ourselves candy, but we made fruit cool. What our mission is, you know, to offer a healthier snack that is super fun and engaging, that's guilt-free and healthier choice.
I'm actually extremely excited about your product for two reasons. And you know, it's so funny because no matter how big or how viral you think things are, you realize they're only viral to the communities within that they're viral in. Like there are so many times I've told people, "Oh yeah, like I got certified as a coach. I took Tony Robbins training program." And like, "Who's Tony Robbins?" I'm like, "How do you not know who Tony Robbins is?" And then similarly, when I met you and we connected for the first time, you're like, "Oh, I have Final Boss Sour." I'm like, "I have no idea what the hell that is." And it's like, here these are, these two really big, powerful brands, heavy hitters that are viral in their own right. And there's still so many people to discover it. And what's really exciting about your product specifically is like, one, I hate candy, but I'm very interested to try it. And number two, my girlfriend has a massive sour sweet tooth. Like I literally, every time I go to CVS, I have to buy her sour Skittles and I yell at her because there's dyes and all this crap in there. So I'm excited to not only try your product, but buy it for my girlfriend and hopefully help her kick her habit. I'm curious though, one of the questions that I have, because this isn't just a rant, I promise. But one of the questions that I have is that I've seen it where a lot of people that are on these great missions are looking to create a great impact. And it sounds like for you, you know, you want to redefine the way people eat sour candy and have a healthier alternative. Did you feel any type of personal pull when building this? Like you look like you're a very fit and healthy kind of guy. You're probably health conscious yourself. But did you feel like, man, society is getting terrible. America's got like 70% obesity rating, et cetera. Like, did you have a desire to do something about that? Or was it just like a thing where you wanted to redefine it just because you thought it'd be cool? Like, what was your push?
I mean, so I tell people, I'm like people are like, oh, you must have been obsessed with sour candy growing up. I'm like, no, like even when I was young, like I could tell how bad this stuff was, like for you. Like Sour Patch Kids is like the number one sour candy. And it's like the first three ingredients are sugar, inverted sugar, and corn syrup. And then they have artificial colors, titanium dioxide. Like if you read that label, you're like, I can't believe parents give this to their kids. Like it's and so I didn't grow up eating lots of sour candy. Like, sure, I like the taste of some of them. And yeah, I was pretty pissed off about what was out there. Like that third point I made, like it's not, there's no snack on the market like a Sour Patch Kids or a gummy that is even remotely as healthy as we are, that tastes like the way we do too. There's like keto sour candy and like Smart Sweets of the world and stuff like that are, in my opinion, like they have sugar alcohols, like they're still a gummy. They're made of, gelatin base, which I don't think is great. There's conflicting arguments about it, but it is what it is. I mean, we're in the most organic, true form you can get. So like fruit and sour.
Dude, I'm
also on Vin's train here. I can't wait to order myself one of those boxes. So I'm curious. I can go to the website. I can go to TikTok. I can go to Amazon and purchase this. Do you have ones that actually have sugar on it or chile on it or anything like that? Not yet.
We've done a spicy drop. We did a sour chamoy. I think we're gonna bring it back permanently. Yeah, we sold out of them. It went super well. It was it was pineapple, mango, strawberry, and strawberry.
Is it the classic like chile, like
it was like chamoy and tahini. Yeah, chamoy and tahini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a sour base too. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, it was great. I got to get you some of those. We have a limited supply hidden somewhere in the office. So when we hop off, hit me with your addresses. I got to get you guys a care package.
See, the benefits of knowing Tommy and having the same common last name too.
There you go.
Double to the other rigs. So I love it. So, it's really an interesting thing, because I've seen this many times, is people that tend to make the most amazing things are just fed up with the way that things are. I guess one of the thoughts that I have, or one of the curiosities I have, is like, how would somebody, if they're sitting there right now, like let's say it's one of our listeners and they're sitting there and they're contemplating something, when did you finally know that you just had to do something different? Like, when did you actually get that feeling of motivation? How did it hit you? What was the spark?
And was it during that hot chip challenge? They're molding in your mouth.
I think it was when we were experimenting around with how to, we were trying to make the world's most sour thing. That's what started. We were like, okay, how do we make the most sour thing? And we're going to one day. But we realized this is a better place to start. It's better to start at level 1, work your way up. That way you can appeal mass market and then create fan community base, and then, anticipation leading up to the final boss of sour candy. So yeah, it happened when I tried the most sour thing ever made, which I've tried.
How was that? I'm just curious. How long did it last inside your mouth? Because we've talked about, before, and I tried one of a minute.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's
You're
the thing.
a champion.
Well, it's more like with spicy, it can last like up to an hour. Like if
because you're inhaling it, or you're digesting it. The sour candy is are you digesting it, or you just keep it in your mouth?
It's more about what happens on your tongue. Like when you eat like a pepper, it's like, it just hits you. It's so, I don't know why, it just doesn't go away. Like it just hits you for an hour. And with sour, I've noticed, at least, like the most I've ever seen it stay is like 30 seconds, a minute at the most. So yeah.
Is your candy also kid friendly? Like my 2-year-old daughter loves eating lemons for whatever reason.
Mine too.
My 2-year-old niece is obsessed. My 2-year-old niece is like absolutely obsessed with Final Boss. She's like, literally, she'll like feed me them. She's like, look, try it. I'm like, it's my candy.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah. And I guess one other question that I have, and this is one thing I feel like we should ask more people, Shane, but we're going to start here with Tommy. What's one of the best pieces of advice you'd ever gotten, whether it was life advice or business advice, from a mentor or somebody that, you've looked up to?
Does it have to come from someone else, or is it something that I would give someone, just advice I would give someone else?
Either way.
You know what? Let's do both. How about that? Can you do something you've been given and then give somebody something you want to give?
Yeah, the best advice I would give somebody is like, always go to that meeting, the lunch meeting, the coffee meeting. Like, even if like you don't have a clear path of like what you're gonna get out of it, like, but just go meet people and talk about what you're doing. Like, I see so many founders that build like in stealth, and I'm like, we would probably be like months behind where we were if we've just been building like totally in stealth. I share like what's going on with friends, with acquaintances, business partners, etc., and other founders, because then they could go tell someone else about it, and then they say, hey, this guy wants to invest, this cool partnership, this, that. So I have seen it so much. Like, it's like an 80% success rate, in a way of, it's hard to measure what the success is, but something comes from meeting someone. Like, so go do that extra thing. Like, and I would also say, like, Zoom or phone is like 10% as effective.
That's how Ben and I met, networking.
Yeah, exactly. Best advice I've ever gotten. Try
the most sour candy in the world.
Yeah, no, I would say, I don't know. I mean, there's lots, but I would say my grandfather told me before he passed, he said, pick a job you like, you never work a day in your life. And I think it's so spot on. Like, I don't feel, I've worked many jobs in the past, tech sales, like consulting, all types of things. Those jobs felt like work. Like, oh, I have to work today. I'm like, nah, I'm going into the office just to cook. You know what I mean? Like, it's part of our life. Like, it doesn't feel like work, which is awesome.
I love that. So, Tommy, I mean, this has been a lot of fun for me. I hope it's been fun for both of you, Mr. Riggs. But with that being said, I got 2 last questions for you here. So as you know, this is the 1% podcast. We're not named that because we're billionaires. We're aspiring billionaires. But besides that, we believe that there is a possibility to be a 1%er at anything or everything in life. It's really about how do you show up? How do you do the things that most people maybe aren't or can't or won't? And so the question that we have for you is, what is your version of a 1% lifestyle?
Yeah, I mean, I rave about it to my team all the time. It's, you can't hit a home run every single day. Yep, you got to get first downs. You got to hit singles, like using sports analogies again. But that's the most important thing you need. Guaranteed. So you got to put the work in, and then you don't got to worry.
I love it. And for those people that might have missed it, you mentioned it a little earlier, but can you just give people a recap? How could they either get in touch with you, or is there some other place that they should go to get involved with the candy, or like how could they buy it? Just give people a shout out of how they could connect or get connected to you and your company.
Yeah, absolutely. Finalbosssour.com is probably the best way to go. We're also on Amazon and TikTok Shop. You can find us on our socials. I think it's just Final Boss Sour across the board. And yeah, otherwise you can hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. That's it.
Love it. Awesome, man. Well, dude, this has been such a great episode. Thanks so much for all the insights, the advice, and for sharing your time and your company with us. I know Shane and I are both very excited to start getting some sour boss candy in our homes and giving them to us and our families. So again, thank you. Stick around for about a minute or two after the show. We got a few more things to discuss with you. And guys, you heard it here. Go check it out. Go check out the most viral candy sensation hitting the market right now.
Hell yeah.
And as always, thank you for watching another episode of the 1% podcast. I'm your host, Vin. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, follow, comment. Switched it up on you. Wait. So go do all those things. I'm your host, Vin, and
I'm Shane.
And that was Tommy, everybody. See you later.
Thanks
Bye,
so
guys.
much, guys.